Hello, everyone. This is Jessie Bowen, and welcome to another episode of the Power to Live Your Vision podcast. And I'm here with Coach Nathan Ray. We come to you
Greetings.
each week, empowering your lives, sharing something that we have learned, discovered, and what has helped us to be able to move forward. So, Coach Nate, how you doing today?
Hey, happy, radiant, and free, shining bright like three diamonds, getting after it. You know how we do. How about you?
Well, I want to let you know that my sister is following our show, and she's very
Oh,
impressed with you.
oh wow. Well, thank her for me. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, she's a woman of vision, right? And that's the
Right,
title of our show, right? The power to live your
right.
vision. So yeah, I remember at the holiday party, she said she saw us doing some great things together. And here we are on the podcast. What was this, week 6, I think?
Yeah, week 6.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
that's
that's
great.
the
Yeah.
power of someone speaking into your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
When someone has a power, or someone has that can speak in your life, and you see those things manifest.
Yeah.
People can speak in your life negative things, and you see those negative things manifest in your life. So when you can find someone to speak in your life and have something positive to say about your growth and about your development, then that's very unique. And as being my sister, I'm always grateful for, because when she tells me something, I generally, like, okay, okay,
Pay attention.
to give an example back here, I guess about 15, 16 years ago, she called me up. She says, I met this lady and I was talking about you. And all of a sudden, she started to tell me that, and of course, my sister's a minister. And this other lady she was talking to is a minister, and says, that she had this vision of me traveling all over the world and doing stuff and all that. I received all of that. I was struggling
Yeah.
trying to get my business coaching stuff going on. And I guess about a few weeks later, Duke Corporate Education asked me to come in and do a board breaking thing for some executives. And I did it, and they really liked it. And they discovered I was a coach. And they asked me, did I have a passport? And I go, yeah. Well, we need you in Switzerland in 3 weeks. I'm going, where?
Wow.
I'm going like,
There you
where?
go.
I'm
Look at
going like,
that.
so you never know when someone's speaking your life. And that kicked off now what, since, oh man, I guess 2012. I've been coaching for them. I've worked
Yeah.
with Nike, Raytheon, and a lot of really great companies that I would
That is
never
so
have
powerful.
dreamed I would have that opportunity. But
Yeah.
that's the whole thing about growth and development. So what's been going on with you?
Oh, well, hey, it's our, I teach a course, but it's more than a course. It's a way of life, and we call it thinking into mastery. So, someone asked, what are your hobbies? I said visualization. That's my newest and latest greatest hobby, seeing the end before the end ever shows up. Because circumstances, it's easy to get distracted on the things that are happening on the day to day, and take your eye off the vision. And that was and that's kind of like, I guess, what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is because there are those moments that, like you said, when someone speaks into you, but there's that point where you are, and that point where you're going to transition and change. There's some things that happen that go on, right?
Well, you're exactly right. And and before I forget, and I always forget, this program is sponsored by Elite Publication. Visit our website, www.elitepublications.org. Everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. Our latest book is out, and this show was motivated,
Yeah.
by the release of
Yeah.
this latest book. And this is called The Journeyman. And this is about teaching about journaling and how to be able to structure your life, that you're not living by an accident, but you're learning to live in purpose. So the
Yeah.
topic that we want to focus on today is the signs of growth and acceptance of discomfort in change. Now it's hard to have both because
Yeah.
if you've been in a place of struggle, then it's difficult to sometimes know that when you're out of struggle and you're moving into this other level because your struggle and as you move forward, you can have discomfort
Yeah.
and change. So if I have to leave a bad situation and then move to a good situation, there is a transition of doing that. So a lot of times it's not
Yeah.
a right now experience in that transition. So that's what we want to think about. And as we're chatting about today, is that what is that knowing that you're moving forward, something positive is happening, but sometimes we're just so connected to that other side that when those
Mm,
opportunities come for us to grow, we don't know how to leave them.
right. Well, do you think that's like do you think that's like when you've you've just created a lifestyle or a habit around where you've been that whole time, that there's some separation anxiety from what you are familiar with? I guess that's one way to put it.
Well, yes, to grow, you have to have a disruption in your comfort zone. So it's just like, if you got an ailment, something's wrong with your body, you're sick, and you're in this pain. You won't take a shot sometime or take meds and feel better right away. You still, for the next day or so, you may still be in that pain. So when you're making changes in your life, you may
Mm,
not experience that right now change that you're looking for. You've been working on your journaling, you've been doing those things, but you may not feel that. You have to have the growth discomfort, that disruption when you are moving forward. So you're sort of in that place. And this is where your vision is required to expand beyond your identity. You were talking
yeah.
about that a few moments ago,
Uh,
and we were talking about it. My sister making this, prophecy in my life that someone else had made. So I have to believe that. So my vision of seeing myself, expanding and growing, my business may be down, or my relationship may not be what I'm looking for, or is not moving me forward. So visualization, what is the other side of where you are now? What is the other side of maybe being broke, and what is prosperity? Someone says, I
right.
want, I want money. That doesn't tell me anything. The
Right.
question becomes how much money. So you got to
Right.
expand your vision beyond, your identity. So you got to be able to be able to write down how much money. Someone says, I want to have better health. What does that look like? What does that mean that you're losing weight? It means that what does it really mean to you to be able to
Right.
have that? And that's the
Well,
reason
that's
why we think about that. And the brain, it will resist uncertainty. So if you cannot be totally focused, we have those 70,000 thoughts that we have every day. That's a lot of thinking. So that
yeah.
question becomes, what are you thinking? So if I've got 70,000 thoughts going on and I'm putting 50,000 thoughts into negativity, then that's not really moving me forward. I may
Right.
have to use affirmations. I may have to say something over and over. So when I get one of those other thoughts that's happening, that's disrupting my growth or comfort zone, then I am great. There's no one else in the world just like me. There's never has been, and there never will be. You see, that's what I'm saying, because I'm trying to have a breakthrough. Or, hey man, I'm lousy, I'll
Right.
never get better, I'm broke, I might as well, so you have a choice on changing your stinking thinking. That's what I call it. Your stinking thinking. You have a choice to be able to change that. So when you can
Right.
change that, that's a mental thing. Your brain is resisting, that uncertainty. So when you now journal and you write these things down, then that's really helping you to be able to move forward through your comfort zone and create stability and not just, a distraction.
Yeah. What I heard you say is you got to be clear. First and foremost, you got to be clear and specific about what you want. It reminds me of those shows where you have they rub the bottle and the genie pops out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's always like a trick because they say they want this, but it can be interpreted as that. So they wind up. I forget there was a good one with Brandon Fraser, and actually his was he was making the devil tells him he can have three wishes, whatever he wants. And every time he made a wish, it was horrible and it was hilarious because it was totally different than what he was really saying. But because he wasn't specific and clear, what they say, the devil's in the details. So, uh, yeah, yeah. So I love that, Hanchi, what you shared about being clear about it. And then when you're because I know Bob Proctor, he used the term terror barrier. People run up against the terror barrier, then that fear and the doubt and all these things jump off, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in your mind when you know but one of the things that I work on doing is looking and saying, how is what I've been asking for showing up? Because if I identify, well, wait a minute, this is actually what I've been asking for. And now I'm a little jittery about it, but it's shown up. So now I get to pull the trigger. And that pulling the trigger for a lot of folks can be the moment. I guess that's what we would term the moment of truth. It's that moment where you realize, hey, actually this is what I've been asking for. So now let me just go ahead and dive in. Now I don't want to, there's no need to dip my toe. Let me just go ahead and dive in. And I think it goes back to what you were saying a moment ago, is where circumstances, focusing on the circumstances versus focusing on your vision.
Right. Exactly right. And that's what you have to be thinking about. If
Hmm.
it feels uncomfortable, you're probably expanding. And that's why
Okay.
I say you have to do those things that feel uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
another one of my stories, I remember, uh, leaving home, which I grew up in the country, and going to Raleigh. I tell
The
the
big
story
city.
about the big city of and feeling like I was on the Andy Griffin show. I'm
Right.
going through all, because here in eastern North Carolina the land is flat, and when you're starting to head towards Raleigh, it gets hilly. So I thought I was in the mountains, these steep hills, and and because I'd never been more than 60 miles from my home when I was thrown out of the country, and that was very uncomfortable. I remember
Yeah.
the first day I was in Raleigh, my car got towed away, and you know I didn't
Oh
realize
gosh.
they had tow trucks. You know, you know, we were laughing. It's
You
really,
got
pretty
jacked.
funny.
You got
But it
jacked
but
by a
it
tow
goes
truck.
into, this is my uncomfortable that
Yeah.
uncomfortable story. And
Uh,
so, someone paid to get my car back and all of that. So I'm going on day two, and I tell my
ooh.
best friend that's convinced me to leave my hometown. And he says, I said, no, man, you got to draw me a map. I'm going home. Now everyone has to realize
That's that
this was
paradigm. That old
back
paradigm
in
was kicking in. Yeah.
1973. So,
Right.
we didn't have GPS. You had a map, and you had to be able to read that map. So, and
Follow the
I'm going, no,
sun.
no, I'm going, they took my car. So I'm definitely out of my comfort zone. And,
Yeah.
and,
Wow.
I remember saying to him, I listen, you have to draw me a map. No, I'm going home. This is day two. And he says, Jesse, stay one more day. One more day. I'm going home. I wanted to go back,
Right.
and I wanted to go back. And I stayed that one more day, and I got hired at Rockwell International. Didn't know anything about being a machinist or general machinist, and they trained me and they started, but that was uncomfortable because
Yeah.
something happened as I was making an aggressive move forward. And so it's
Yeah.
like that sometimes. That what is that uncomfortable thing that makes you go, whoa, no, 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 I'm not going that way. That doesn't feel good. But if you just have your wait for your breakthrough. So I have no idea what my life would be like today if I did not have that uncomfortable feeling, but I had the courage to break through and stay
Yeah.
one more day.
That's
So
powerful. That's powerful.
that's what you got to realize when you're having these things. You may be having your breakthrough, but you have a resistance that said, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. That doesn't feel good. That feels
Right.
very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
to me. And I would say that 90% of the things I do and I do well are things that were in the beginning were very uncomfortable, for me to do. So the other
Well,
thing that we were talking about is that signals that you are growing. That's
mm, okay.
something that, and that's what we
Right.
sort of. What is that signal that you are now growing? So it's a whole sequence where you really have to pay attention to in that. So that's what we're talking about today, everyone, is
Yeah.
being able to understand that you're not standing still. Every day you're moving forward or you're moving backwards. You're not really standing in any one particular spot. It
That's an
doesn't work.
illusion, right? That's an illusion. I'm just going to stay the same. There is no stay the same. You're either going up or down, right? So, wow. Well, I love what you're expressing. Yeah, you're right. I mean, of course, the doubt, the uncertainty, the anxieties that can come up is a challenge for sure. And the thing about it is, if we feed that, we get more of it. That's that is the that is the part we speak about in thinking into mastery. It's like you get more of what you feed. Are you going to feed that, or are you going to feed this new vision, this new journey that you're on? And I love what you were speaking about, that feeling of being misaligned with what you're already familiar with. And a lot of that misalignment that happens, again, it leads to doubt, fear, disbelief, all of those things. So that's again another form of feeding that, um, the resistance that you get even from people you think that should be supporting you, right? You were fortunate. Your friend was encouraging, which got you through and over. But I mean, a lot of people run into the opposite, right? Where they have people going, "You crazy. You shouldn't be
And
doing that," right?
that's a good point too. If someone is in your space or in your sphere and they're for you, they're not going to let you quit.
Right.
It was been the easier thing for him to say, okay, Jesse, look here, let me draw these lines on this sheet of paper because I know you're going to get lost. And let me just go ahead and give it to you and watch you drive off into the sunset.
Right.
But that person didn't. I had
Right.
someone that was supportive of me.
Right.
And that's
That's a
what you
blessing.
have to do, that who's giving you the right information and who's
Yeah.
giving you that support. So your moment of growth, you experience that resistance, but you can also experience that from others. So growth exposes who is comfortable with you and the old identity, because if they see you growing, they may want to pull you back
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
mean,
they're
the
not ready to leave. They're not ready to leave and go to this new level. So they may be doing things that will hold you back because they like you in the old identity.
Yeah, that's man, that is so much that we can unpack with that, because that is big. The power of association and being in different, newer associations, because sometimes you don't, well, a lot, quite often, we don't know what we don't know. So if we can get in bigger rooms, get around people who are bigger dreamers than we are, and catch a dream from someone else that we didn't even know was available. A lot of things we don't even, like, you didn't know what was available to you at your home. You had to leave your home first, which was uncomfortable. It's just like the baby's got to leave the baby's got to come out of there after 9 months. You got to come out into the environment. You get smacked on. You seeing all these strange things that you've never seen before. I mean, it's if you really think about it, when we're born, that is a shock to the system. You've been in this nice, comfortable place, and I think a lot of us have experienced that. I mean, um, I know it. I've recently had challenges myself, but the great thing is, I lean back and I go, well, wait a minute, coach, what would you share with the others that you're speaking into? So it gives me an opportunity to live this as well, because um, it's not a thing where we just automatically have it. We're on a journey too, as coaches and as mentors, where we get to practically apply this knowledge and technology and information ourselves. So, but yeah, but you switched environments, you move forward, and you get around the right people that can nurture your dream. I love that. That's powerful. Being in that same space with big and people who are further along than you. I think that pulls us along a lot of times too. When we, like I said, we our dream might be smaller, but we get around big dreamers, we can catch a dream.
Right, and no matter where you are and what you think you know, there's someone out there that knows something better. And again, their association. I know you just teamed up with some good friends of mine, Grandmaster Stephen Oliver and Jeff Smith. Those guys are top line when it comes down to business marketing and how to
Yeah.
grow yourself and how to grow your mindset. Because
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
information in the world won't matter unless you can grow your mindset. So in your business, so if someone is involved in a business, then you need to be aligning yourself with those people who know more, have more, and they want you to be more, because the people at the top, they don't mind reaching down, grabbing your hand and helping you up the hill. Now, they're not going to pull you up the hill. They're going to
Right.
support you to make sure that you don't stumble and fall. So that environment, so those two guys, we've got some things that we've got going on. So made me
That's
think
right.
about
Yeah.
that, I see you, your surroundings or who you're surrounding yourself with. And, I see the growth and the things that you're already experiencing. And,
Yes,
we're
sir.
into the first 6 months of the year and you're having those things. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is
It's
a
great.
place for everyone, for you to take a moment. We're in week number 6. So what's
Yeah.
happening? Have
Yeah.
you seen growth in your life? Have you seen changes? Are you hitting those goals, that vision board? Are you achieving those things? Are you writing down your goals, your vision? Are you using your journal? Are you using those tools that's out there and available? So when you begin to let go, then people's habits, excuses, and the things that they want, then what they think, these things are now released from you. So
Right.
when you now grow and you now change your association, those things are now discussed, or moved from that. Some of the things that you can do really quickly is to write the discomfort. In other words, what's making this, reason why the
Yeah. The
power
journal. Yeah.
power of
Yeah.
journaling is to write the discomfort. What is it that makes you sort of sit back and not move forward? Another thing is identify the lessons that you have learned. You want to uh, extract the strengths from what you have, and then you want to reframe the meaning of it. So you got a negative thing, then you want to reframe that. How can you reframe that into being positive? I remember a poster that I got from an event, Louise Hay event I went to up in New York, and
Oh, okay. Louise Hay. Okay. I know that name.
yeah, so it was really powerful. And the
Hmm.
poster, and I memorized, and I would say it every day. This is me in my own personal space. And I would say before I leave home, I am great. There's no one just like me. There never has been. There never will be. I am forevermore a unique creation So every
Wow.
day, so again, what is that
Wow.
empowerment thinking? There's no one just like me.
Right.
I got kids, but they're different. You know,
Yeah.
you know, there's no one. Then I'm
Yeah.
not like them. Everybody is unique. So you have to find out, what is your uniqueness, and to practice to embrace change. Name
Yeah.
that fear, write it down, connect to your vision, folks.
Yes.
Connect to your vision.
Wow.
What is it that you see that you have not connected to? We're on this magazine project, and it is growing. From a magazine now, I've actually started writing another book, and
Okay.
the book is
Why am I
actually
not
on
surprised?
the book is on magazine marketing. I have
Okay.
created so much, material from it,
Yeah.
and then I have this vision of what it could be and will be. So we've actually started on a whole book around
There you go.
magazine marketing for martial arts schools. So again, I'm in the
That's powerful.
martial arts business one phase of it. So we've done that, and then you want to shrink those steps down. Growth happens in daily intentional actions. In other
Right.
words, what is your intentional actions? What are you
Yeah. That's
doing
powerful.
that you shouldn't
Yeah.
do? We were talking a few moments ago about that I'm gonna have to bring one of my assistants back because I find myself doing stuff of making flyers and doing stuff, and I don't need to be doing that. I'm the salesman.
Right.
I need to be out selling. I need to be
Right.
out bringing clients in. I need to be doing this stuff. I don't need to be
Yeah.
doing a flyer. So you
Right.
have to understand. You have to understand your value and the things that you're best at, even though they may be uncomfortable for you to do, to pick up the telephone and make that call. But you still have to do that.
Right. Well, I think that's some of the challenge. I mean, that's instruct those that have done martial arts or anything really. If you're really good at it, it's your passion, is something you love, and people get a sense of that energy that comes off of you. So then they attach to you and they want you to do it, and so you can fall in a rabbit hole of thinking that you got to do everything, and that's not efficient in most cases. And so I think that's where we're talking about association, getting around people who can show you that there's another way to look at something. There's another
Mm-hmm.
perspective that we can draw from as an example of how we can still have our passion and be that leader without feeling like we have to do everything. So I think that's a big key that you just clicked on, because a lot of that self pressure that we put on ourselves, then we utilize that as an awesome excuse and a wonderful alibi not to move forward a lot of times. So I love what you're sharing, because it's that self awareness and knowing that, hey, there's a better way, and I'm willing to take the action to do. I tell everyone real quick, I say, well, you're not gonna be around Hanchi and not be an action person. I can just tell you that, because you blink, he'll be gone. You'll be stuck right where you're at. He's already making 20 or 30 steps ahead, and you'll be like, what just happened? So, and which is one of the great qualities I love about working with you is seeing that example, because you are an example of action, someone who takes the bull by the horns and just moves ahead. And I think a lot of people get paralyzed, and that's what we're talking about. These are the keys to get over being paralyzed that you ran down. I love it. Right, writing out things, you're identifying the lesson, you extract the strength from what appears to be something that is uncomfortable. You feel a little wishy-washy and weak, but we got to find the strength in it. There's strength there. We just got to be aware and awake to pull it out. And I guess that goes back to that other point of reframing the meaning of what's going on. We need to reframe in our own mind what's happening, what's exactly happening. So yeah, so and like you said, discomfort's not a punishment, it's a preparation. So that being prepared is a big one, I mean, Napoleon Hill gave a whole chapter to making plans and being prepared in Think and Grow Rich. He gave a whole chapter to that. So it's obviously something we should be looking at when we talk about success.
And exactly right. You have to train your mind daily. And he is, well, how do I train my mind? Well, number one, visualize. And start, instead of getting up and watching television first thing in the morning, listen, the crazy that's going on, then take that time and visualize your dreams, because you've already been journaling about them. You've already written down. So you want to visualize, you want to journal, you want to pray and meditate. One of the habits that my wife and I do is that, because, I work from home and she has an office that she goes to. But one of the things that we have done this year is that we made a point that every day that we get up, that we read a scripture and we pray.
That's wonderful.
And then we meditate. And again, because this works for us, if you say, well, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, then that doesn't work for you. It's okay. But, in the end, I tell folks, I tell my children, every knee shall bow, and every right? I ain't worried about it, And then you got to meditate, put in your mind, what are you thinking? So meditation is really grabbing something and focusing on it, and you can work it and see yourself succeeding, or you can work it and see yourself failing. So if you're thinking something negative, then you are meditating and you are building those negative things. If you see something positive and you're thinking positive, even it may not be a reality, but you're beginning to manifest that. And again, reframing the narrative, instead of, thinking this is hard, say, this is building me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and this goes back to changing your paradigm, living and operating in a different way, because you got a choice. We can focus on what we say is uncomfortable, what could go wrong, what could be the problem, and instead focus on what can go right. Like, how great can this be? This is an opportunity, versus looking at from the negative side of things. Because I mean, it's either way. You're either looking at it on the negative side or the positive side. And with that education that you're getting, we got a choice. We can focus on the negative or the positive. And it's so great if we think of the possibility. Be a dreamer and dream of what they say, dream the impossible dream, which is not impossible, right? So I love that, Hanchi, because being able to focus in and say what is gonna be right that comes from this, versus focusing on the other side. So that's some good. Those are goodies. All right, I'm glad. Like I tell everyone every week, I'm glad I'm taking notes. I hope you all are, because we need to take this and use it.
Well, it just came to me, Nathan.
What's that?
We're going to write a book.
Yep.
We're going to write a book this year. So we're going to write a book. And guess what the name of the book's going to be called?
Uh-oh. I don't know. I dare guess. What's it
Power to Live Your Vision.
Oh, well, there we go. Yes.
We're going to co-author a book. It just hit me as I'm sitting here and talking.
All right.
It just hit me like, man, Nathan's doing a great job. This is good. This is good stuff we're sharing. So we're going to write a book.
All right.
So everyone.
It's done. It's done. I already know it's done.
This book is going to release August the 28th, 2029 in Las Vegas at the Who's Who in the Martial Arts Hall of Honors event. So if you want to get the book, so we've already put it out in the universe. Now, the last thing, everyone, I know that we're covering a lot of material. And I know in our span that, it's really difficult to sit down for 30 minutes and listen to something. But, this is on our podcast. You can go back and listen to it. We're on Spotify. We're also on Roku. So you can go back and listen to it and break it down. So this is sort of like a week's lesson of information that we're giving to you. And to hear it one time, you really may not get the impact. So it's designed that the repetitive of hearing it over and over. So the last thing before we check out here is martial arts philosophy and growth. Coach Ray and myself, we're both 10th degree black belts. So we're not at the bottom, we're at the top. And when I say at the top, it really means that we've done a lot of things, mastered a lot of things, moved up to this other place. And we're just giving. What do you do when you move up? You give back. So that's what our
Yep.
podcast is really about. The
Yep.
power to live your vision is really, we talk all the time. So this is our give back time that we want to share. And we hope and we pray that we say something each week that will empower your life. A white belt mindset is about being humble.
Yeah.
A
Yep.
black belt mindset is about being responsible. So I'll say that again. So, and then sort of
That's
let
good.
that sink in, is that a white belt mindset is about being humble. A black belt mindset is about being responsible. So that's something for you to think about,
Yeah.
as we move forward this week. But you want to be able to build yourself from those uncomfortable places and create your own mastery. So if
Yeah.
you have any questions, on our podcast about what we've covered, you can go to our page, and that's the Power to Live Your Vision. We have a page, and we also have a group. Please join our group, follow us, and hey, drop your comments in if you have a question. Be more than happy to answer that. Any final thoughts from you, Coach?
That was so good. I feel like I should say something, but I don't have to. That so, but we coaches we talk, so that's a good thing. No, I would just encourage everyone to attack the things that make you afraid. Let this be a week where we step right into the heart of it and know that there's a way forward. You're hearing this. I'll leave on this. Whoever is listening to this, it was meant for you to be here and hear these words and to hear this message. It's for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't even connected with us here. So I would just encourage them to follow through with what you shared, and we're here. We're here and willing to share whatever we have to help you all get what you want. It's not about us getting something from you or anything like that. We want to help as many people reach their goals as we can. So I'll leave with that.
And one of the things that we're planning with Elite Publications is that we have a goal this year to help 100 authors publish their books. So that's what our goal is
Yep.
to help 100 authors, not just publish your book, but to help you write your book, to help you market your book, and to turn you into a best-selling or international best-selling author. Writing a book is one of the most empowering things that you can
Yep.
do. And at Elite
Yep.
Publications, we've been blessed with the opportunity of doing those things. I've just released book number 60. And it's, still in the number one hot release. And,
Wow.
go to
Congratulations. That's
Amazon, check
great.
out what we're doing. Sifu
Yeah.
Goldberg, Action Martial Arts. We just released his book. And actually the books in one of the martial arts categories, they are number one and number two hot new
Wow.
release, for
Super.
martial arts books. So everyone, so remember, it's running across the screen, elitepublications.org. Go to our website, check it out. Let me know how we can help you to become better, to help you empower yourself. Everyone needs a hand up every now and then. We hope that our program is that program that gives you that hand up. And listen, the information is free. So you can't beat free. Sometimes we would say free is not good, but like I said, every time I speak that I get a blessing, my daddy owns everything. So I don't worry about anything.
I love it.
So
that's right.
Blessed and highly favored. So, hey.
Yes, sir.
So, Coach, I will chat with you a little bit later, everyone.
Yes,
so remember, empower your week, empower your life, do something that moves you forward. Be blessed.